Material IDs are generated from the XMF file that you export, and each submesh can have will have a different material ID. Um, so, in order to look at how these things are generated, we're going to need to look at our 3D program. And then here you can see we have one object, one polygon object, and if we just kind of apply this material to it, you can see that we have this material here. In this case, well, when you're exporting, the way the exporter works here in 3D Max, it's going to look at the name of your object, and it's going to look for these brackets here. And wherever it sees a bracket, it's going to say, you know what, I need to pay attention to what's in between it. In this case, I have a number, so I'm just going to go ahead and put a random number in here. Let's call it 44. So when we're exporting our geometry within the XMF, it's going to look for this sort of number here, and also, which is very important, it's going to look at whether or not you have any information input to your diffuse or opacity sections. So in this case, we have a we're just going to do a simple example. We have just one texture applied, and you can see that the texture is called My Texture Diffuse JPEG.jpg. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and export it. Actually, I already have one exported. The process of exporting isn't important, just the information that we get with it. So what we're going to do, we're going to open up the XMF file, and we can see that it looks kind of complex, but it actually isn't. Really, it's just defining how many submeshes we have, and submeshes are just how many groups of polygons that have different materials applied to them, which we can see later. It's defining how many vertices, how many faces, information that is not used in the previewer here, how many blend shapes you have, and your texture, coordinates, and such, but most importantly, your material ID. Well, this one has a material ID of 32. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and just, I'm just going to close this and just re-export this. Selected file, export. Simple plain mesh. I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. It's going to yell at me because it already exists, so I'm going to hit yes, and then it's going to pull in the rig file, and then that was the rig file I exported before, and I'm just going to go ahead and just keep hitting yes. This is the information that I was saying before, that I'm figuring that it's not even using the LOD properties and the spring system, and then I just hit finish. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up that file under birth, and it should be simple plain mesh.xmf. Double click it. So if we look at it, it's going to have all the information of our geometry, but most importantly, it's going to take our material ID, which is 44. So if we go ahead and bring this inside of our previewer, we can see that we have a material ID of 32. You can see that this submesh has material ID of 32, but when we import our new mesh, just open it up, you can see now we have 44, and we hit apply, and we zoom out and go to materials. You can see we have 44. Now, now let's go ahead and take a look at what the XRF information is. So I had said that it was important to have, if we hit M, it was important to have information here. That's for when we export our XRF file. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to export one XRF file right now, and just go, let's go, select nothing, go file, export, and we're going to want XRF. So I have birth material, and just type, I don't have to, I'm just going to hit save, and just replace, yep, select my 44 material, hit next. And really, this doesn't matter, it's just looking at the name. I know it's 44. Here's where anything before it would make sense, would help you find the correct number or the correct item. So I'm going to go ahead next. And what it does, it says, hey, I have this texture name, and I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to set memory aside in the previewer, anything that has this, anything that plugs into here. Well, actually, I can just go forward, and it'll probably make more sense if I show you. So here we have no information because we don't have our we don't have a XRF applied, so I'm going to go ahead and apply one. Bring this in and just hit apply. I already had a texture associated with my scene, so that's why I kind of plugged that in, and this texture originally was plugged into something that was called my texture diffuse.jpg. Literally, it doesn't have to share the same name. Actually, what I'm trying to say is what you plug into here doesn't have to be what you plug into the previewer. So if I came here, I can plug in whatever texture I wanted. So in this case, I have my texture diffuse, bmp.32. So you can see that this doesn't match the same name. All this name is just a space and memory for the previewer. So it's saying anytime we see this here, we're going to plug in this texture. So what the heck does that mean? If I were to go and make, well, first, before I do this, let's go ahead and look at the XRF file. Sure. So, birth material, you can see that we have a bunch of information. All of this is just useless information which won't be read, which won't matter to the previewer. The most important thing is our map type. You can see that we have that name that we had before and the type of map that it was. It's a diffuse color. So if I went and just exported another one with this here, I'm just going to bring this into opacity. I'm just going to just copy it, and it's going to have the same amount of information. So it's going to use this same texture map for two types of information. So diffuse color is just color that is bounced back to us that we can see, and opacity color is just color that will be transparent. So if we can kind of look through here, you can see that we can see through the black text. So I'm just going to go ahead and export that material one more time. Export. Birth material, I'm going to go with same opacity. .xrf. In this case, it's important to type XRF since I'm not overwriting a file. I'm going to pick my proper material, and now you can see that I'm exporting two channels. I'm exporting my texture diffuse JPEG. On layer 0 and layer 1, I have my texture diffuse JPEG. So literally they're the same file in this case. So if I come into my previewer and then reload in that material, I'm just going to hit cancel here, reload the material. Right now with the material loaded, you can see it only has diffuse color. But if I go ahead and browse and bring in birth material, same opacity, you can see that I get diffuse color and an opacity, both with this reference to this bookmark. I'm going to call these bookmarks. So since they have the same bookmark, what's going to happen, they're going to have the same texture applied in here. So no matter what, I cannot make these have different textures, because if I change one, so if I came into here and then try to change it to, I'm just going to back up a little bit, materials and tutorials, XRF files, diffuse, go to my other texture diffuse. So the second I change this for my opacity, it changes the diffuse because they both refer to the same to the same bookmark, even though that it's a different texture altogether. Since this is my texture diffuse JPEG, or since this is my other, this is called my other texture diffuse JPEG. So again, these only refer to bookmarks of pictures. So if I go ahead and hit apply, you can see that it's using the image as an opacity. So the darker areas are going to be transparent, while the lighter areas are going to be opaque. So you can see the black here is transparent, and the what the computer sees as being lighter colors are we're able to see.